These are the Beam Chronicles, with your host, MJ Dooney. Book 4, Exodus, Prologue, Ripley Hodge.
Ripley Hodge.
Ripley Hodge.
Ripley Hodge.
Ripley Hodge.
Ripley Hodge, political assassin and Beam's current most wanted, struck again today.
Sources indicate Hodge's assassination count has climbed to 6.
9. 13 confirmed assassinations by the anomaly known as Ripley Hodge, all important public supporters of Beam's agenda after Jackson Teague's cataclysmic meltdown.
It is our top priority.
All within a span of 2 months.
She is emblematic of the anomaly problem, and she must be stopped.
This is what happens when we let go of the leash.
She will be brought to justice.
This is what happens when we let them think they can do whatever they want.
Beam has lost another key political ally to the anomaly assassin, Ripley Hodge.
President Eric Brady, successor to Howard Prophet, is her latest victim.
Hodge's death toll grows.
This is just their playbook.
17 confirmed kills by Ripley Hodge now.
This is how they act. This is who they really are.
Beam has announced head equalizer Tyler Foon has been personally charged with equalizing Hodge. He had this to say in response.
The little bitch. I'm gonna equalize her. Give me a few days.
2 weeks after appointing Tyler Foon to handle the anomaly assassin Ripley Hodge, her reign of terror continues.
19 kills. And that number is, that's just her high-profile targets, Joe.
Right. Forget about the bodyguards, the bystanders.
They can't damage Beam itself, so they target our allies. It's sickening.
Any comment on the rumor that it's Beam ordering the assassinations to galvanize society against Hodge and foment fear and chaos?
Get him out of here.
Prime Minister Dorshmer is dead.
The world bids farewell to Chancellor L. Comrade.
Staunch Beam supporter Chairman Lee is the latest victim.
Senator Kwong has been slain by anomaly menace Ripley
The
Hodge.
senator recently switched his vote in an alarming move to grant Beam authority to build a robotic equalizer force. He leaves a wife and 2 kids behind.
He is the 21st victim of Ripley Hodge's focused assault on Beam allies.
23rd.
25 have died in the wake of Hodge's 5-month vendetta.
Can we fucking stop her? Can we get this fucking lunatic off my fucking streets? I mean, God bless Beam. Where the fuck would we be without her?
Equalizer Tyler Foon, still the one tasked with Hodge's capture, had this to say of her 27th act of political violence.
It's slippery little bitch on the fucking.
Charlie Shade could not be reached for comment on the situation.
29 is the number of high-profile Beam-supporting leaders and political figures who have lost their lives to Ripley Hodge during the last 6 months.
She's a fucking lunatic. This is what Beam is for.
Ripley Hodge.
We will catch her. We will end her reign of terror.
Ripley Hodge.
Mark my words, the bitch is fucked.
Ripley Hodge.
Can anyone stop her?
You're not getting away from me this time, you slippery little bitch!
The cockneyed howls of my buffoonish nemesis, Equalizer of Beam Tyler Foon, rang after me as I sprinted through the halls of the embassy. His pursuit was distant, but full of fervor, and a fervor as Foon was nothing to be taken lightly. The smart money was to keep running, to find my way to the Prime Minister's office, slay the bodyguards he undoubtedly had at his side, then finish the mission Howard Prophet had secretly given me, his personal assassin. Ideally, tactically, I would have ignored Tyler Foon, because I knew I'd made him look foolish recently enough that it'd be a dumb idea to mess with him. Dumb, yes. Fun, also yes. I was normally a very serious, blunt, to-the-point kind of person. For some reason, I had an antagonistic streak in me for Foon. Something about how earnestly he denied himself of himself, I don't really know. I skidded to a stop at the end of a long hallway, pirouetting on my toes to face the furious blue man as he lumbered around the corner. I quickly extended the pinky and thumb of my left hand simultaneously, popping out the purple tonfa blade resting along my forearm and snatching it out of the air with the same hand, flexing my knees as I rotated it around, flashed it behind my back, all just for show. More importantly, I clenched my right hand into a tight fist, then released it, generating a powerful electric charge in my palm, my best defense against this particular opponent, so it was good to have it prepared to launch. "Hey, Tyler," I taunted calmly down the way as he panted, then snarled, slowly walking toward me. "Good to see ya, old chap." I donned my most offensive British accent.
I'm gonna pulverize you, you arrogant little punk.
"And here I thought you gave up on me," I smirked. "I was a little disappointed not to see you last time. Have I told you you're kinda handsome, Ty?"
I ever told you you're right obnoxious?
He growled, then flung his arms in front of him, slamming them together and sending a pulse of water at me. As usual, his fury made him predictable, easy to counter, so long as I maintained my balance and focus. I calmly stifled the charge in my palm, then leaned into a full back bend, all the way until my knuckles contacted the ground, and his booming hydroblast nearly grazed over my abdomen, without so much as a bruise. As he relented in his attack, recalling the water back to himself so he could reabsorb it, I kicked over my feet, landing solidly upright, left forearm blade still clenched in my hand. I flicked it around a bit, distractedly, boredly did a transfer or two, lashing out at an invisible foe since the one I was fighting didn't know my interest too well. He took offense, which was good because I was intending it to be offensive, and he retaliated by firing another jet at my face. Without hesitation, I whipped my blade up to meet the stream, pressing against it with both hands and deflecting his mighty blast around me. Strong, but I was stronger. Again, he took a moment to reabsorb before he began striding toward me. I continued practicing my technique like he wasn't even there.
Glad to block that one, frankly.
He tried and failed to sound flippant to match my apathy.
One more to damage that pretty face.
I knew you thought I was pretty. Pervert. I spat, stopping his advanced cold with a bolt of lightning right out of my hand. But Foon anticipated the move. He wasn't an entirely worthless fighter. A jet of water shot from either of his feet, and he spread his legs apart just wide enough to narrowly miss getting shocked. Before he could return to the ground, he redirected his foot jets and began barreling toward me. Finally, something exciting. I returned the hilt of my tonfa to the aperture in my wrist and lifted my hands just as Foon reached me, halted the jets from the soles of his feet, and expanded a bubble of water around his entire body. Before he landed, the bubble reformed into some hominid-shaped water figure with Foon at the center, and the figure slammed his hands into mine with a rushing thunder. The current was powerful, strong enough to buckle my knees, tear the skin off of my bionic hands. But again, I was stronger than Foon. Designed that way. Gritting my teeth and grunting, I managed to shove his arms up, creating enough space between us for me to form a charge in the palm of either of my exposed robotic hands. Goodbye, creep.
Ah, fuck!
Then pressed both of them into his chest. With a loud bang, Foon went soaring backward into the wall, steam pouring off of him as he slid to the floor. I glanced at my hands, already recovering the artificial skin he'd ripped away. Months ago, when Kavorsky and the men at Beam gave me all my enhancements, I would get quite a chuckle out of watching everything work. The electricity, the robotic strength, the notches carved into my synthetic skeleton, specifically for storing swords that weren't in use. I remember flaying skin off of my arms and watching it slowly grow back just for kicks, but by now I was bored of the engineering marvel that was my own body. I didn't even stick around to watch the regenerative process to completion. There wasn't time anyway. Tyler was a decent adversary, and battling with him was always fun, but ultimately a waste of energy. Not the reason I was here. I spun away from him and turned the corner of the hallway, sprinting down toward the office of my mark. It took 1 or 2 seconds more than I expected for the boom of Tyler's recovery to echo after me, but sure enough, I heard him blast his way into the hall, not soon after I'd made my retreat.
You got one to me!
He bellowed, as I literally did precisely what he told me I couldn't. Foon fired jet after jet down the hallway, as I continued to zigzag away and he continued to soar after me. Every shot would miss, blow massive craters into the walls beside me, and I'd have to lift my arm to shield myself from the debris. Once I sliced through a heftier chunk of drywall by casually lifting the scimitar mounted on my elbow as I slid on my knees. And another time I had to skip over one, turn a sideways 360 in the air to avoid it, but none of that slowed my hunt. Tyler couldn't distract me, even though I was obviously all he could see. That and the color red.
I'm sorry, little bitch!
I always had to remind myself to be careful with Foon. He gave the impression of trying too hard against me, pushing too much, getting too angry too quickly, and that's what I exploited to throw him off his game. Tyler lacked a certain level of swagger when he fought. He couldn't deal with a misfire or two, and so a single mistake would parlay into multiple until we inevitably got to this point. Me sprinting away from him, effortlessly and narrowly dancing between his titanic attacks, and him getting increasingly furious with each successive miss. But in the back of my head, I tried to remember how strong he really was. How all it'd take was one moment of clarity for him to take a deep breath and center his assault more precisely. And sure enough, just as I glanced over my shoulder, that realization struck him. He landed from his his jet-powered hover and took a deep, steady breath. I could see the wave, the ripple of energy pulse through him gradually from the base of his feet up through his body as he filled his lungs. When it reached the crown of his head, his oddly bright, almost yellowish eyes flashed open, and even from a distance, I could read the power in them. Shit, I grumbled, not loud enough for him to hear. At least not over the thunderclap of hydro mayhem he sent howling down toward me. There was just enough time for me to kick down a door lining the hallway and tumble through it. Luckily for me, the water was rushing so fast, it ran right past my little nook of safety. Unluckily for me, that nook was occupied by 5 burly Pakistani gentlemen, 3 with machine guns. The rage of Foon's jets subsided enough for me to hear what they were screaming at me in Punjabi, which was one of the thousands of languages burned into my head. They were standard threats.
Don't move. Drop your weapons.
And that sort of thing. I rolled my eyes and raised my hands above my head for no other reason than to draw them closer to me, and when the 3 gunmen approached to bind me up, I flashed my fingers to the hilt sticking out over my shoulder, unsheathed the blade hiding in my back, and with one turning motion, lopped all 3 heads off. Their bodies crumbled to the floor just as Tyler Foon appeared in the doorway. It only took a second for him to overcome the shock of 3 decapitated guards. After all, he'd seen more gruesome sights. The other 2 unarmed fools approached next to enact their revenge.
Don't engage or run, you dolts!
Foon tried to warn them. But the first guard took his swing at me, a low, lumbering, nervous sort of punch. I effortlessly ducked beneath it, and as I rose back up, hoisted my right elbow above my head, splitting the idiot in half with a scimitar. Blood squirted out in all directions as I heard Foon swearing in frustration behind me. I spun to face him. They don't speak English, I levelly reminded him, extracting the tonfa from my left forearm, catching it and jabbing it lazily but firmly over my shoulder, through the throat of the second guard, without even turning to face him. I had it back in place before the fool had even collapsed to his knees, giving me ample time to shrug in mock contrition toward Tyler, rile him up a bit more. It worked, and I giggled a little to myself as he blasted me 4 more times with jets of water, pressurized enough to break bones, just not mine. I slid under the first blast on my knees, dropped my fingertips to the ground to skid myself to a stop inches before the second, flapped into a back handspring over the third, then dove on my stomach between his legs as he fired the 4th right at the tips of my feet. Foon growled like a lunatic, but before he could spin around and shoot again, I'd somersaulted back to my feet and bolted through the door at the end of the hallway, through which I'd find Prime Minister Samran, by now no doubt expecting me. I took just 1 second to pretend to be fiddling with the door before stepping slightly to the side, allowing Foon's next jet to blast it down for me. Thank you, sir! I saluted down the hall at him, and I caught his quick snarl as he launched his feet jets. Again, too stupid to realize his bull rushing would cost him. I casually whipped my arm up, sending a bolt of lightning into his face just as he got within a foot of me. With a loud crack, he instantaneously reversed directions, spiraling away as he screeched in agony. With him successfully grounded, at least temporarily, I drew a sword from my left shoulder and popped the tonfa out of my left forearm. Before rolling into the room Foon had so graciously opened up. 9 guards. But the 2 standing right at the doorway didn't get a chance to react to me. The one on my right took an elbow scimitar straight to the liver the second I got in the room, and I chucked my tonfa into the forehead of the one on the left, pinning him to the wall. 2 more approached me from the right, and I pressed the punctured body of their companion into them, knocking them down temporarily so I could focus on the 2 coming on my left. Dodging bullets and sliding to my knees between them, I sliced either of their Achilles tendons, one with the blade I pulled from my shoulder, the other with the tonfa I hadn't thrown yet. I popped it out and caught it just in time to make my cut, then hopped to my feet, spinning in the air as these 2 guards fell to their knees. I buried a sword into either of their skulls, just as another chap approached me from behind, trying to get the jump on me. But before he could gather up the confidence to take his shot, I clenched both fists and thrust my elbows behind me, puncturing him twice. When I reopened my palms, there was a small spark waiting for me in either of them, just in time for the 2 guards I'd crushed into their friend's body to regain their feet. I turned and sent 2 bolts of lightning across the room, frying each of them to cinders, then yanked my forearm tonfa and shoulder blade out of the heads of the corpses at my feet. The 2 guards left were standing on either side of the Prime Minister, and despite all the chaos, gore, and blood-gargling wails, they'd managed to aim their weapons at me and begin firing. And when I hit the deck to avoid the bullets, I heard a familiar boom of water scorch over my head, nailing one of the bodyguards square in the mouth, pulverizing his head against the wall behind him.
bollocks.
Foon cursed under his breath. I smirked, brought my legs up underneath me into a crouch, then sprung into a backflip over Samron's desk. I had to spread my legs apart a little bit, and my backflips had added that dramatic flair that got people's attention, and I definitely had the attention of the Prime Minister. His terrified, sobbing, beady little eyes never left mine through the duration of that flip, gazing up at me like some kind of deity, death herself, about to wipe him off the face of the earth. So close to him, our heads only inches apart at one point, when he thought he was so secure, so well protected mere seconds ago. I landed on my feet squarely behind him and twirled my tonfa nonchalantly across my body and into the throat of the last standing guard as I resheathed the blade from my shoulder. With a few more casual, acrobatic transfers thrown in just for style points, I tossed my tonfa into the air and caught it in the aperture of my wrist, where the handle stuck when it wasn't in use. Then I hoisted the Prime Minister from his seat and bent my arm so that the scimitar nested in my elbow that typically curled over my shoulder was ever so lightly pressed into the side of his neck. He whimpered, and I shot Tyler a coy smile and a wink. Till next time, bestie.
No.
He lifted his arms up, pressed his hands together, and blasted one last jet at me and my prisoner. Or at least, where we were the last time he saw us, because before he could even get it out, Samron and I had disappeared from his sight. And it was quite easy to evade Tyler anyway, all the easier when I was invisible. Invisibility, yeah, I could do that too. Sometimes even I forgot all of my tricks, although this one didn't even come from Kaworski. Foon continued bellowing and drooling and pummeling that particular wall that was once behind us with a Goliath tube of relentless rushing white water. I meanwhile dragged my mark away from him over to the wall where my last weapon was still stuck into a guard's head and retrieved it. Once I had it, I lingered for just a moment there in the corner of the room where Foon would never find me, holding one hand over my captive's mouth, pushing him against my elbow scimitar. I waited for Foon to finish his assault, draining a good portion of the blue liquidy appearance from him until he finally relented, panting defeatedly at the gaping hole he'd fruitlessly blown into the side of the embassy. You could see the bedlam outside as diplomats, security people, beam agents tried to organize what specifically was happening. You could hear the sirens echoing into the still night air, and if you listened even more carefully, you could hear a high-pitched voice scolding Foon in his earpiece. Eventually, Foon just sighed, ripped it out of his ear, crushed it in a watery vortex the size of his palm.
Shut the fuck up, Cranston.
He exhaustively mumbled to, I presume, the man who was just shouting at him. Foon turned to exit the room, coming within feet of me, when suddenly he stalled, glanced over his shoulder, whispered softly.
I don't know if you're still in here, but one of these days things are gonna end differently. I'm gonna catch you, you fucking punk. And when I do, I'm not letting you get away.
With that, he departed. I couldn't help but feel bad for Foon sometimes. He was the ultimate goat in this grand charade, the biggest fool in a parade of fools. He wasn't like Prophet, or Charlie, or me. He wasn't playing the game. None of this was his choice. He was just trying to stay afloat, being pulled in 10 different directions by 10 different parties. I took some bit of comfort in the notion that soon I might have been permitted to stop making him look stupid, even if I did kind of enjoy it from time to time. In any case, Tyler had torn a nice little escape hole for me to utilize, and once he had fully retreated from the room, I dragged my captive over to that hole. Took a moment to scan the yard. I needed to identify anyone who might potentially spot me because my invisibility was not a general and automatic thing. It would be lovely if I could just throw it up and bolt through the yard to freedom, but that's not how my abilities function. Instead, they required a level of conscientious effort, identifying specific people who I didn't want to notice me, and shutting myself out of their perceptions individually, one at a time. Once I was certain I had picked all of the people out and established my invisibility for each of them, I leapt from the embassy, slowing my fall with one shoe and one hand against the building wall, while I wrapped the other arm around the Prime Minister's neck. He didn't relent the whole way, wiggling around, wailing, screaming some prayers, begging everyone we went by to help him because the poor idiot hadn't pieced together yet that none of them could see him or hear him. In fact, he didn't shut up until after I yanked him over the gate of the embassy and into the adjacent alley, and only then did he stop complaining because he was so dumbfounded by what was awaiting us. A swirling flat circle suspended above the ground, spiraling, humming lightly, pitch black. The kind of black you lose all courage when standing in the face of, the kind of darkness so encompassing, you lose faith the light will ever touch you again. This deep, gentle, foreboding disk of pure, inescapable emptiness. But if you could muster up the bravery, you would be rewarded. Because it was the doorway to the last sanctuary left on this forsaken planet.
This is where I stop.
The Prime Minister sniffled in his native tongue.
I will not enter that thing.
Yes, you will. I calmly shot back. He turned to face me, pressing the skin of his neck uncomfortably tight against my scimitar, but too startled to notice the nick left behind by the suddenness of his movement.
You speak Punjabi?
He asked me in perfect English. And you speak English, I affirmed gratefully. My language skills were vast, but typically stronger in the listening category than the speaking. And since I have the big-ass knife, I get to pick which language we converse in.
Who are you?
You know who I am. He gulped, not willing to admit my name aloud, confirmed to himself the consequences of his own folly.
Why me?
I'm pretty sure you know that, too.
I didn't think.
The man's lip began to quiver as he turned to face the portal again, softly whimpering like a child.
I thought that I was small enough of a threat that you'd just ignore me.
You can't get much more ignorable than alone, invisible, in an alley, Mr. Samron.
What will you do to me?
Step through the portal, then we'll discuss what happens next.
No.
He firmly shook his head, clenched his eyes shut, unwilling to look at it and allow the harrowing pit of despair to drain his soul any longer.
I cannot. I am frightened.
You trying to blackmail Howard Prophet, dude? You're frightened of this? Honestly, I've done a lot of jobs for Prophet.
So the rumors are true.
The Prime Minister interrupted.
Your assassinations were the work of Beam, and not some individual terrorist act as they would suggest.
I ignored his questions. Howie's a surprisingly patient man. Honestly, only two types of people get on his, and then consequently my list. The unfathomably brave and the unfathomably stupid. And sometimes it takes a while for me to decipher which one I'm dealing with, but you were easy. You received information that I was working for Howard Prophet, and your first instinct was to blackmail him with that information. You, Mr. Foreign Leader, find out that Howie is using me to assassinate other foreign leaders, and you proceed to piss him off. I'm honestly curious, just how far did you think this through, exactly?
Please do not kill me.
Samron finally began to sob.
Please show me mercy. I have a family.
So did I once.
I will become Prophet's largest advocate. I will sing his praises to my people. I will be his greatest influence in the region. Allow me to live, and I will be Beam's man for life. I swear it. I swear it.
You promise? If I let you live, you're in Beam's pocket?
Yes. On my wife and children, you have my word.
I scrunched up my mouth, pulling my elbow blade off of his neck and taking a few steps backward. With this modicum of freedom, the Prime Minister's face lit up with relieved joy, and he spun around to offer me his sincere gratitude. But before a single word could escape his slimy, two-faced, grinning mouth, I tapped him across the jaw, knocking him out cold. Not quite the promise I was looking for, old man. I sighed, hoisting his limp body off of the pavement and heaving him through my portal. Kind of the opposite, actually. I dusted my hands off, checked over my shoulder, and jumped through after him. The portal sealed up behind me once we'd arrived at Sanctuary, and Prime Minister Samron was lying unconscious between the pews. I left him there, stepped over him to the pulpit, and sat on a stool, dislodging each of my swords from the apertures, 2 from my wrists, 2 from my elbows, 2 from behind my back. And I pulled my cleaning tools out from the altar so I could wipe off the blood. Call it garish, flashy, whatever. I hated fighting with a dirty blade. Could you ask a few of the kids to come get him off the floor? Put him in a room? I called over my shoulder, gesturing a scimitar apathetically in the Prime Minister's direction. Seamus is good. He's been pissing me off lately. And get Brady or one of the other refugees to give him the scoop. I'm exhausted repeating it.
How did you know I was in here?
I guessed.
You know, there was a time
The familiar low soothing voice echoed from the shadows of the church.
when you stepped through the portal hand in hand with them, like accomplices or confederates. It seems increasingly frequent that they tumble through first, with a bruise on their chins.
Used to be a different brand of individual, I softly replied, inspecting the first sword I'd cleaned to see if I'd missed any spots. This guy practically joined Beam before I decked him and pushed him through. I think we're about done with the noble idealists, have moved on to the sleazy dirtbags.
Perhaps that is part of it.
The tall, cloaked figure granted me, emerging from his corner and stepping up to the altar. He clutched firmly to the long purple scythe he always carried in one of his furry claw-like three-fingered hands. With the other, he stroked the beard spiraling down from his snout.
I am concerned part of it may also be your patience as well, Ripkos. You were once much more passionate about this mission.
Even passion has an expiration date.
Actually, I don't think it does.
It's been 6 months? I scowled. Polishing my left arm fell a little more firmly than it probably needed to be polished. And he's what, 30th? I frankly don't have that long of an attention span. I just figured by now we'd be done.
By my estimates, we are done.
I dropped my chores, stood up, spun to face him all in one motion. My companion was very seldom a joker. In fact, I don't think he had ever even attempted humor. He was also the sort to drop such a hefty bombshell on me so cavalierly, so calmly. As if he just sort of noticed our operation had come to a close and it was time to advance our plot, figured he'd let me know too. Still, I had to ask. You're serious?
I'm serious.
She's the last one. I can go public now. It's time? He nodded once, very slowly, then began to explain his rationale.
People, such as the man on our floor, are starting to discover your connection to Beam. Soon anything you say will automatically be discredited as Prophet's tactics. That is, if he doesn't just dispose of you to save himself from the truth. We must act, and swiftly.
How swiftly we talking?
Whenever you are prepared, Ripkos.
I snorted, scooping up all my weapons, still a little bloody, but whatever, and popping them back into their respective places. Appearances were important. I needed to look the part of a powerful, dangerous weapon before I blew the lid off of Howie's operation. Prepared. As if I haven't been practicing this forever, Shepard. He smirked ever so slightly.
I would imagine you have been ready for this day for months now.
Yeah. Try years. I purposefully strutted past my alien counterpart, clutching his scythe with both hands and just lingering around ominously as he tended to. I kicked open the hatch right beside him and hopped down into the hole, to the basement of Sanctuary, foregoing the ladder and landing in a crouch, one hand on the floor. I cracked my neck back and forth as I walked down the hallway, lined with the rooms of refugees, dignitaries and children, caught up in Prophet's crossfires, all the people I'd saved. At the end was my room, and nestled into the corner was my little studio. A digital camera pointing at a white wall I hooked up to a functional, if slightly obsolete, computer. I'd recorded drafts of this video before, a video I intended to upload to the internet that night, change the world. But as I sat in my computer chair, flicking open and closed my USB a few times, staring at the photo of my dad I kept framed on the desk, the one I promised I'd hang in the Louvre, but still hadn't, I couldn't help but think that right then, in that moment, I had a much better take in me. So instead, I paced over to the camera, hit the record button, and stepped in front of it. I positioned my body just perfectly so you could see both blades nestled along my forearms, the two jammed into my elbows, which curved beautifully over my shoulders, and the hilts of the last two jutting up by my ears. With a quick breath, I began my manifesto. My name is Ripley Hodge, and if you're even slightly aware of the world around you, you probably know me as the infamous anomaly assassin, responsible for the brutal slaughter of 29 high-profile leaders over the course of the last 6 months. Prime Minister Samron tonight makes 30. I am the symbol for what you've been told to fear. I am the darkness Beam casts a light on, the reason they have given you to trust in their necessity, their authority, and their tyranny. However much you might hate their ideology, you accept their protection because they represent the lesser of two evils. But what most of you don't know is that there is, in fact, only one evil. Beam and I are one and the same. I work for the very same organization that has been pretending to try to stop me. Our Prophet himself has secretly given me the orders to commit every single one of these ruthless murders. I have these orders in writing to present to you as evidence. Through me, Beam has coerced you into fear, convinced you to sacrifice your privacy, your freedom, all for their protection, and from whom? A weapon that they created, a hitman that they control. Beam manufactured a disease and sold you the cure to it. Now, I'm sure none of you believe this entirely. Most of you are conditioned to distrust me, and even those of you who are not probably can't wrap your head around everything I'm saying. We live in a world now in which the line between the Guardians and the Predators is so entirely blurred, some can be classified as both, and most neither. So which am I? Time will tell. Thankfully, you don't have to know that yet. And you also don't have to believe a word I've said. Conveniently, I'm not gonna be the only one talking. Listen instead to the accounts of those I've been ordered to kill. Because what none of you know, not even Howard Prophet himself, is that all 30 of my assassination targets are alive and well. So if you refuse to trust me, trust your elected officials, your prime ministers, your senators, and your chancellors who were ordered to execution, and for what crime? For supporting Howard Prophet, and thus becoming most useful to his cause as the body they leave behind to substantiate it, but then tell you how Prophet would rather me kill his allies to provoke chaos, vilify anomalies, and consolidate power than let them live, the people who agree with him. Ignore me, disregard me, doubt me, fine. Allow the 30 dignitaries I'd saved instead to convince you to join my revolution. I glared menacingly into the little red dot on top of my camera, imagining his arrogant smirk sitting behind his desk with his fingers steepled, his hair perfectly combed. I wish I could say it right to his face. I wish I could look him in the eye when I issued my last threat. This line was directed straight to the devil. And make no mistake, you smug piece of shit. That revolution begins today.
Thank you for listening to the Beam Chronicles, a fiction podcast written and produced by me, MJ Dooney. Book 4 is officially underway. I'm so excited for this one. It's much less depressing and hopeless when compared to Book 3. Plus, I really love Ripley and Tokumi and a lot of the characters who sort of appeared in Book 3 but didn't really get their spotlight. But they will in this book, kind of as evidenced by this prologue. Which is a really nice segue into the next thing I wanted to say. For this one, I have a lot of insights to share about characters, moments, where they came from in my head, what they mean to me. Behind the scenes, producer/writer/director's commentary type stuff. I wanted to deep dive into Ripley's swords, for example, since I'm sure a lot of you had to Google Tonfa while you were listening to this. But I'm putting all that on Patreon. My plan right now is to do a weekly blog style of extra thoughts to accompany each episode, but only on Patreon, which is completely free, by the way. You don't have to pay. You can if you want to. I would appreciate it greatly, but there is a free tier. I'm trying to further build the community that I sort of started to build at the end of last book, the very end. To give me a way to contact folks directly with announcements and notes and stuff like that, you can click support the show in the episode description, or you can just go to patreon.com/The Beam Chronicles, or I guess just open the app and search for The Beam Chronicles. I think that works. If all that doesn't entice you enough, there's also an entire 6-episode miniseries of bonus content. It's a completely new story. It's set between books 1 and 2. In my opinion, it's one of the craziest and funniest things I've ever written. It's a really good change of pace from the general tone of the main story in book 3. I sing opera in it. Murphy and Maria are in it, alive. There's a trailer for it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. 5 stars, by the way. It's called Ben Chronicles. It's really good stuff. Go check it out, but it's only on Patreon. I've also had a ton of fun chatting and engaging with people that are already following me on Patreon, so if that's you, I love you. I might also use my Patreons in the future to put random names in the show. I kind of did that with Ben Chronicles, but I might do that in the main show too. I even thought maybe I could reach out for a voice, if it's a quick throwaway line. I don't know, but you won't either if you don't follow me on Patreon, so go do that right now. I also have other social media like TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I don't really know what I'm doing there yet. I'm kind of trying to focus my calls to action just on Patreon right now. If you have an idea what I should do for other social media, you can send me a message on Patreon, or you can email me, beamchronicles@gmail.com. All music and sound effects were sourced from the Epidemic Sound Library. Special thanks to my wife for creating the new cover art for the show. Thanks again for listening.